This film has been rated M for mature audiences.
Hello, my name is Milena Ramos, and today I'll be talking about my theory of knowledge topic, which is to what extent do video games influence the thoughts of teenagers? To further explain my question, I will be primarily answering whether the violence in teenagers are initiated or triggered by violent video games. Furthermore, the possible positive effects video games may have on the player. For those of you unrelated to video games, it is important to understand exactly what it is. According to Webster Dictionary, video games are an electronic game played by means of images on a video screen and are often emphasizing fast action. Over the last few years, the video game industry has improved their technology, providing the players with realistic graphics that give them a more lifelike playing experience, making the video game industry the most fast-growing industry. Now I will be discussing the negative effects that video games can have on the thoughts of teenagers. So what comes first? Is the violent behavior seen more often in teens to be blamed on the excessive use of violent video games? Or is it the person's violent character and habits that draw them to play violent video games from the beginning? For many years now, the world has connected violent video games and music, especially rap, to the increasing rate of teenage crime. As the level of violence in video game increases every year, so does the concern of many people on the possible effects it may have on the player, especially those who have become addicted to the game. However, music and movies don't allow the listener or viewer to physically take part in the violent process in action, but instead leaving the viewer to be a simple observer. However, it is video games in particular that have the greatest influence on teenage crime, because it stimulates the mind of young individuals to believe they are capable of committing the horrific crimes they take part of within the video game. Video games also encourage players to identify with and roleplay their favorite characters. This is referred to as first-person video games, where it allows the player to take the role of the attacker, making the violent scenery that much more realistic. Take, for example, the violent video game Grand Theft Auto, which molds the player to take over the life of a realistic character with the purpose to kill other individuals within the game and also steal cars. The game is 360 degrees of murder and mayhem with endless playtime. And now, this particular video game is facing a lawsuit due to the murder of 3 young males in Fayette, Alabama, done by 18-year-old Devin Moore, a day and night game player of Grand Theft Auto. Authorities are questioning whether the morals shown in this violent video game, Grand Theft Auto, influence Moore to commit such horrific crimes. The video game enlists within the player the right to do horrific actions, as authorities would quote, "If you see a car you like within the game, you're allowed to steal it. Someone you don't like? Well, you simply stomp her. And if there's a cop in your way, well, that's easy. You just blow him away." Taking physical action while playing violent video games, even if only through the means of a game controller, can increase the hostility rate of many adolescents, especially those who are easily angered. Video game violence can increase aggression in some individuals, depending partially on their personality. Individuals in their early stages of adolescence can experience anger management along with other minor effects. However, individuals who are in their late stages of adolescence experience larger effects that can escalate depending on the person's character and overall amount of use of violent video games. During the late stages of adolescence, violent video games can increase the tendency to start fights with peers, smoke, and/or drink because it is portrayed as a good thing during video games, which ultimately can lead to a decline in school life and can also lead to an increased crime rate within the teenage communities. However, video games can also have various positive effects on the thoughts of teenagers, which I will be discussing during this portion of my presentation. Video games can have positive effects, such as an increase in communication, an increase in concentration, sociability with other individuals, which can eventually lead to an increase in new encounter friendships, and finally, it may improve a player's manual and computer literacy. Overall, video games can influence teenagers to use or gain positive effects to help them succeed in real-life situations outside the video game world. To expand on the positive effects, I will be discussing the various positive social effects video games can have on teens. For example, Playing video games can increase teamwork abilities. Take, for example, the hit video game Call of Duty 4, which encourages players to work with other individuals, which not only increases their teamwork abilities, but also increases teens' communication skills. These acquired communication skills can become beneficial to many teenagers during their high school and college careers. It can also improve their social skills. Video games can also help many teens mentally and emotionally because it can give them a place where they feel welcomed and not judged. For example, video games have been proven to mentally and emotionally excite many teenagers, making many individuals help fight depression. And finally, video games can also help teens by improving their technology skills. These technology skills can be used once again during their high school and college years. Not only that, but the newly acquired technology skills can influence many teens to pursue a career in computer design, technology, or even engineering. Playing video games also increases a player's ability to solve problems in difficult time-crunching situations, which primarily teaches the player the ability to manage their time in an orderly fashion. Playing video games also increases a player's ability to multitask and divide their time wisely. Although many people justify their claims against video games by saying that video games rot the minds of teens, playing video games actually benefits the mind. Playing video games increases a person's hand-eye coordination by exposing a person to rapid visual images and requiring them to assimilate or respond with emotion from their fingers onto the analog sticks. Before doing my research for my TOK presentation topic, I truly believed that video games were to blame for the increased crime rate within the teenage communities. The reason as to why I felt this way was because I believed that video games had an immense influence on the thoughts of teenagers. However, after doing some extensive research on my TOK presentation topic, I now think that video games are only a fraction of the problem, and the other fraction lies within the gamer and their overall character, personality, and decisions. I believe that it is ultimately the gamer's decision whether to allow video games to influence their thoughts in either a positive or negative way. This is why, now that I have completed my presentation, before concluding my presentation, I would like to relate to my TOK question, which is, to what extent do video games influence the thoughts of teenagers to the TOK diagram? In the ways of knowing, my presentation relates to sense perception because it allows the gamer to form their own ideas on the events occurring during the video game instead of using previous traditional sense experience. The presentation also relates to the emotional aspects of the diagram because it allows the gamer to express their mood, temperament, personality, disposition, and motivation within the game. The video game also allows the gamer to express basic emotions such as happy, sad, angry, scared, and excited through their influenced thoughts. In the areas of knowledge, my presentation relates to human sciences because it studies and interprets the experiences associated with human beings and technology. It also relates to the arts portion of the TOK diagram because video games are considered to be a modern visual art consisting of 3 things, which include lifelike graphics, settings, and actions. Finally, my presentation relates to ethics because modern video games involve having the knowledge between right and wrong behaviors throughout specific situations.